Is the media's reaction to the president's statement overblown? To Trump 2020 Advisory Board member Nan Hayworth, former vice chair of diversity outreach for Trump Brunell Donald-Kyei, and former D.C. Democratic Party chair Scott Bolden. Good to see you all. Let me go to you first, Nan. Good afternoon. Because when I first heard the president, and that was after I was glued to the television. I was not in Charlottesville, but I watched from stem to stern all of the Fox News coverage, and I saw a lot of helmets on the alt-right people, the Nazis, and I saw a lot of helmets on the, I don't know what they call themselves now, the Antifa or whatever it is. But we've seen them before in action, too. It looked like two sides were culpable, and that's what the president attacked. Were you surprised at the reaction to what the president said?
Well, I think the mainstream media and the left are trying to stoke the outrage machine. That's very clear, David. The president was right to condemn violence on all sides. I do think this, at this point, since people like David Duke are contending that, hey, the president was elected by folks like us, you know, white nationalists, white supremacists, I think it would be salutary for the president. I think it would be helpful for the president to state specifically the white supremacist movement is not a friend
of mine
or of ours.
Brunell, I should mention that David Duke himself actually criticized the president as well, saying that, hey, you shouldn't criticize us. So he took it personally, what the president said, as a personal jab against. But does the president have to go beyond that and specifically point him out and say, look, I discredit anything that David Duke says about me or my presidency?
Well, I'll tell you this. The president has done that. Even back as far as to year 2000, he's been disavowing David Duke for many, many years. But also remember this. David Duke did endorse Keith Ellison, who is the Democratic Party's the deputy for the Democratic Party. And so he didn't disavow David Duke. I think the president made an excellent decision as a leader to disavow violence of any and every kind, any bigotry and any hatred. And let's not forget, these extremists are only a minuscule, tiny portion of our America. Most Americans are not like these people. We're loving, we're freedom-loving, we're 100%. Kind, we care about one another. And Scott, so the president did his job.
The thing that bothers me about these, what's been happening, and frankly, the press, whether it's us or everybody else is somewhat involved in this, this is such a small minority. We have a tendency to blow up stuff that looks good on television. We do it all the time. And these factions have been at each other for a long time. I mean, this goes back years where you have both the David Duke, KKK sort of neo-Nazis going against the anarchists and Antifa and whatever. So this has been happening for a while, has it not?
Absolutely. Yeah, on the part of white nationalists, neo-Nazis, and others. But that doesn't mean it's normalized, and it ought to be denounced right away. When you have white supremacists walking in the streets,
the violence was denounced right away.
No, it was denounced by all sides. The problem is it was denounced by the president by all sides. And I got to tell you something. I don't know what you were watching, but I got to tell you, the white supremacists that were there, they came with weapons, they came with shields, they used the vigor. They did not.
Show me one picture with the other side. I was watching our excellent coverage by Doug. Excuse me, Scott, excuse me. I was watching the coverage which showed helmeted and jackboot characters on both sides of the barrier. You saw the same.
I did not see the same, but if they were, I got to tell you, what happens in these circumstances are who's the antagonist? But for the white supremacists and nationalists being there, who came heavily armed, right? And you had religious leaders,
and they had a permit to be there as well.
And you had others. Of course they did, right? So you have this conflict. But the president, who is the moral leader of this country, has a problem with attacking or calling out neo-Nazis, white supremacists and others is highly inappropriate.
The president's already...
Go ahead, Nan. Go ahead, Nan.
So I don't get to finish my comment. My goodness gracious, okay.
If you want to talk for a half hour, fine, but go ahead. Once you put a final button on it, go ahead.
He attacks everybody else, but he won't attack these hate groups who support him and celebrate him, not attacking them.
Nan, you have said that he should go a step further than what he did, or even a step further than what the vice president did, or what the attorney general did. I mean, we've had 3 officials, including the president, who've attacked violence, some more specifically. Should the president now come out and say, I condemn David Duke, I condemn the KKK, I condemn all of those alt-right organizations who were involved in violence on Saturday?
Well, as Brunell pointed out, David, the president has specifically condemned what David Duke stands for and did
not since Saturday.
Not since Saturday. Can reiterate that. I think that would be great.
Many times.
And Vice President Pence and General Sessions and also the White House spokesperson have all specifically come out to say that the president does not support white supremacists.
Brunell, I want you to respond to the fact that some people are now blaming all Trump supporters, and I would assume that would include you, for what happened in Saturday, the reaction of the president and not speaking up enough as they say he did. Here's Marianne Marsh. She was on our channel before. She was she was an advisor to John Kerry, by the way, a strong person in the Democratic Party. Here's how she responded about Trump people and their responsibility in this.
He did not condemn neo-Nazis. He did not condemn racists. He did not condemn fascists who brought their hatred and violence and death to the streets of Charlottesville. So he can try to clean that up this afternoon, 48 hours later. It is too little too late. And this should be no surprise. The very people who are in the streets of Charlottesville in militia gear are the very people who supported him throughout his campaign and will continue to support him down to his last days.
Now, the implication goes on to sort of condemn, it's kind of the old deplorables line, that if you voted for Trump and you support him even now through everything we have been through, there's got to be something wrong with you.
There's absolutely zero wrong with me and so many other people who supported our president. The hatred that's going on the streets in Charlotte that went on, it's been going on, as you said, for decades. It happened under several other presidents. Donald Trump, our president, will not be the last president that it happens under. But what I'll tell you is this. We are going to support our president. He has said that he disavows hatred, bigotry of all types on the left or right. And that is what a leader is supposed to do. He has addressed it blanketly. He has put it in a way where not one of those groups can stand up and put their chest out and say, hey, he didn't disavow me.
So, Scott,
he disavowed
is there
them all.
anything wrong with Brunell?
Well, I certainly wouldn't label all of Trump's supporters deplorables, if you were. I certainly wouldn't do that. I do think that there's a segment of Trump's support, his core support, that do identify with these hate groups, and I do think
Hold on a second. Don't you think Brunell is one of his core supporters?
But you know what? The core supporters of Donald J. Trump are not extremists. They're black, white, Hispanic, Asian Americans who got fed up with the politicians and put Donald Trump in office.
That's his core base. I agree with that. I agree with that.
Thank you.
What I'm saying was there are some core supporters. There are some core supporters who identify with white nationalists and neo-Nazis who support Donald Trump. Those individuals, Donald Trump as president, I think, has to specifically name them and denounce them because he is now representing all of us, or supposed to be representing all of us.
And the Democrats
they're not core supporters, they're minor.
Movement.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Very interesting discussion.
Go to war with everyone else. Go to war with them.
This is not the end of it. Everybody wants the last word. We got to end it because we're out of time. Thank you very much.